So for the sake of time, I'm just going to start our presentation here. But first of all, welcome to UC Santa Cruz to our incoming Frosh. I'm super excited for you all. I'm an alumni, so I can say from experience that you all have made a wonderful choice, and we're here to welcome you to the psychology department, specifically here at UCSC. If you hear banging in the background, that's my cat who may make an appearance in our presentation. So just forewarning. She likes to be involved in my advising as well. So she's a very intricate part of our team. But we wanted to just congratulate all of you. Every year it gets more competitive, more difficult to get into this university. And it is kind of the best of both worlds. We live amongst the trees, as you can see Sammy the Slug here on this slide, moving in all his dorm stuff. But we also are in close proximity to the ocean. So it really is a beautiful place. So without further ado, welcome. And I'm just going to go to our next slide here. So we're going to start with some introduction so you're not wondering who these random Zoom people are. So I'm Paige. I use she, hers pronouns. I'm one of these psychology undergraduate advisors. As I mentioned before, I'm also a very proud alumni of UC Santa Cruz. I graduated class of 2021 and I double majored in literature and education. And then I went on to get my master's in higher ed, then made my way back, and now I'm an advisor in our psychology department here at UCSC. And let me pass it over to my colleague Julia to introduce herself to you all.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia Wanlin. I use she, her pronouns, also one of the psychology undergraduate advisors, as well as an alum from UCSC, and I majored in psychology. So it's nice to see you all. I'll pass it to Rebecca.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rebecca, or Becca. Either way is fine. I use she, her pronouns. I'm another one of the psychology undergraduate advisors and also an alum of UCSC. I studied psychology with a minor in theater arts. So if you're interested in like the arts at all, I'd love to talk to you about those classes as well. But yeah, so glad that you guys are here, and I will pass it over to Ryan.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Ryan. I use he, him pronouns. I'm also a psychology alum from UCSC and one of your academic advisors. I look forward to getting to know you guys today. I'll pass it back to Paige.
Awesome. Yeah, so I thought I'd have Sammy join us. Lastly, a couple more people on this page that you'll meet a little bit later on. Wendy Kusunoki is our undergraduate program manager, program coordinator, and she supervises all of us. So we work very closely with her, and she's always in our office helping out. So you'll be able to meet her soon. And then Carrie Walker is our field study director, and that's a internship program that we'll talk a little bit more about later in the presentation. All right, so here's a little bit of an outline here. I also included some photos in this presentation. These are personal photos I've taken on campus, so you all can start envisioning yourself walking on campus. It's one of my favorite things. So we're going to just start for a general introduction to our department, what psychology and cognitive science actually are, and a road to a undergraduate degree. We're going to then move into our majors and specific policies, make sure you all understand the logistics and the expectations in our department. Then we'll talk about the infamous enrollment process, which I'm sure you all are trying to navigate, and I understand it is very confusing. So we're here to help with that. And then we're going to go into some general campus resources that are really beneficial and really underutilized that we want you all to take advantage of. And lastly, we're going to talk about our specific department location, upcoming events, and things to be on the lookout for come fall. All right, here we go. So, this may seem fairly self-explanatory. We want to break it down a little bit for you all. So, psychology, what's nice about psychology and cognitive sciences is that they're very interdisciplinary majors and they're very broad majors. And what I mean by that is it gives you an opportunity to delve into a bunch of different fields. And when you graduate, your career options are very broad. This doesn't necessarily mean you need to be a therapist, which is an admirable career that I'm sure some of you are interested in, but that doesn't necessarily mean that needs to be your path. So basically, study the mind, development functions, especially affecting behavior in a specific context. Cognitive science, however, is slightly more interdisciplinary and focuses on the study of thought, memory, perception, language, artificial intelligence. I'm naming a lot of different things there, and that's because a lot of those fall under different departments and majors in our on our campus. So what's really cool is you get to take courses, obviously, in psychology, philosophy, anthropology, linguistics, computer science, among others. which may even help you discover if you want to do a second major or a minor. Obviously, one degree is more than enough, but it may steer you towards something you're also interested in. So these are the main subfields in psychology. This also sort of applies to our cognitive science major. You may notice when you go to search for cognitive science in the class search things that you can't find cognitive science. It's not really a search area. That's because your upper division courses are anything 100 or above. There's still going to be psychology courses for the cognitive science major. So as far as these, so we have developmental, and you can see the number ranges there. I'm not going to read through all of them, but this is to help you all later on when you're searching for these courses to be like, well, what the heck is a developmental course? Well, you've got it right there. So we've got developmental, cognitive, social, clinical, methods, and that's kind of research methods, quantitative, qualitative. And then we have independent study, which includes that field study option that I talked about a little bit earlier. All right. So here's our fun path to a degree, which ends in graduation. You can see Sammy celebrating. It's really exciting. I remember walking the stage. It's something you never forget. So that's part of our role, is to help you all get there. So we're going to start. There's going to be a lot of things you're going to be focusing on your first year. I want to emphasize that you all do not need to be concerned about major requirements during your first quarter. I'll say that again. You do not need to be worried about major requirements during your first quarter. That doesn't mean you can't take them. It just means that you may not even decide psychology or cognitive science are for you. To be candid, proposed just kind of sorts you into a group until you declare a major. That's a different story. So GE's, general education requirements, are really your best friend right now. You want to be working through those, and oftentimes they help you find a different major or even add a second major. I'm not saying please leave our department. I'm just saying that students do change their majors fairly often. We'll talk about major declaration. Psych 100 is a very important course that allows you to take anything 100 or above. We'll talk about additional upper division requirements, your senior seminar, which is an exit requirement in our department, and yay, graduation, when you get to take a photo with Sammy the Slug and get your diploma, and it'll be really exciting with your family and friends. And I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Julia to take us through the next part of our presentation.
Thank you. So now Rebecca and I are going to talk a little bit about our major requirements, as well as some of the policies that we have. So we can go to the next slide. Okay, so proposing versus declaring. You are all coming into UCSC as proposed psychology or cognitive science majors. And that means that when you applied, you expressed interest in one of those majors. Eventually, you're going to need to declare your major, and you can do that once you meet necessary requirements, which I'll go into in the next couple slides. The instructions on how to declare your major are linked on this slide, and it basically just involves submitting a petition through your MyUCSC portal. Next slide, please. Okay, so for the psychology major, there are 3 requirements that you need to complete in order to declare the major. These are pre-calculus, intro to psychology, and statistics. As you can see, each requirement can be satisfied through a few different ways. So these include UCSC courses listed on the slide, community college courses that are equivalent to these UCSC courses, or qualifying scores on AP exams. For the math or pre-calculus requirements specifically, we really encourage you to take the ALEX Math Placement exam as soon as possible, because that license does expire after your first year at UCSC. So the earlier you can take it, the better. If you earn an ALEX Math Placement score of 300 or higher, you will actually test out of pre-calculus and not need to take a math course for the psychology major. You can take the ALEX Math Placement exam up to 3 times if you don't get that 300 on your first try, and we encourage you to do that because students usually improve their score after each attempt. If you don't test out of these requirements, which is probably the case for a lot of you, and you need to take a UCSC or community college course to complete them, just remember that for pre-calculus, a grade of C or higher is required. And then for Psych 1 and statistics, a grade of B- or higher is required to declare. And if you ever are in a situation where you're not meeting those grade requirements, reach out to us and we can help you get back on track. Next slide, please. Okay, so cognitive science has slightly different major declaration requirements, and they include calculus, programming, statistics, and Psych 20. Cognitive science students are expected to know a slightly higher level of math compared to psychology students, so you're going to be taking calculus instead of pre-calculus. You may have tested out of calculus with an AP exam score. Um, but the ALEX math placement exam will not test you out of calculus. It'll only test you out of pre-calculus. So we still recommend that you take ALEX so that you could potentially skip pre-calculus and go straight into calculus. And then as Paige was talking about, cognitive science is a very interdisciplinary major, and that's why we have the programming requirement. And it can be satisfied through a few different courses, but CSE 20 is the most common. And there's also the CSE 20 test out exam option. The statistics requirement for cognitive science can be satisfied through the same courses or AP exam scores as the psychology major. And then Psych 20 is a specific introduction to cognition course that you'll need to take. There's not a test out option for this requirement. And then you have to take all 4 of these courses for a letter grade, and it's required that you earn a GPA of 2.8 or higher in order to declare, and that's about a B or a B minus average. Next slide, please. Okay, so our major declaration policy, this basically details when you need to declare your major by. So you will need to declare your psychology or cognitive science major by the end of your 6th quarter or 2nd year here, which will be spring 2027. So this means that you will be submitting your petition to declare by the deadline in your 6th quarter, and you need to complete those courses that I was just talking about by the start of your 6th quarter or have them in progress during your 6th quarter. If you are not able to declare your major by the end of your 2nd year, you will need to submit an appeal in order to see if our majors are still an option for you. And you can do that by just sending us an email. This policy also applies to students who are interested in switching into or adding the psychology and cognitive science majors as a 2nd major. So if you have any friends or anything that are interested in our majors, you can let them know that the 6th quarter deadline still applies. And then once you complete all of those courses that I was talking about, the major declaration courses, you can declare your major. So it might be possible for you to declare before your 6th quarter deadline, but you do have up until the end of your 6th year to do so. And if you're planning to double major, we encourage that you talk to both us and your other major advisors, just to make sure you're complying with both departments' policies. And with that, I'll pass it over to Rebecca to talk more about our other major requirements.
Thank you. So for the psychology major, there are 2 different concentrations students must choose between. These are general psychology and intensive psychology, and the difference between them is that general psychology requires 8 upper division courses, while intensive psychology requires 11 upper division courses. So outlined here are the requirements for general psychology. In addition to the 3 declaration requirements that Julia has mentioned, there are also 2 other lower division courses that are required, which are Psych 10, Introduction to Developmental Psychology, and Psych 20, Cognition Fundamental Theories. As for upper division requirements, all psychology majors must take Psych 100 at UCSC. You have to complete this course before you can take our other 6 upper division psych courses. And one of these 6 upper division courses should also be your senior seminar, which I will talk more about in a moment. In addition to your psychology coursework, you will also need to take an upper division course from an approved major outside of our department. Most of these are in the social sciences and humanities, but there's a few others on the list as well. You can find this list of requirements, major worksheets, and also a list of approved departments and courses for the upper division outside course on our website. So yeah, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. So all of the major requirements are the same between general and intensive psychology, except for those three additional courses. Those are one advanced research methods course, which could be Psych 181 or Psych 182, and then 2 quarters of independent study, which could be participating in field study, helping in a research lab in our department, or conducting your own senior thesis. Um, yes. Okay. So all I'm so sorry. I got lost in my notes. Okay, so all psychology students will be prompted to choose a concentration when declaring your major, but you can also always change it later. You can kind of switch back and forth if you would need to. You would just need to reach out to an advisor to work on this process. And just so you know, no matter which concentration you choose, your diploma will say the same thing. So you will receive a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, regardless of the concentration, though the concentration would be listed on your diploma. And we can go ahead to the next slide. Thank you. So for cognitive science, the 4 courses that Julia mentioned are required, as well as a few upper division courses, including Psych 100, same as for psychology majors. It must be taken at UCSC, and it's a prerequisite for all other upper division courses. Your other upper division requirements include 3 cognitive core classes from the 4 areas listed on the slide, which are perception, neuroscience, language, and memory. You're also required to take 3 cognitive psychology electives, which allow for more flexibility since you get to choose from a longer list. And like psychology, one of these 3 upper division cognitive science electives will need to be your senior seminar. Also, as an interdisciplinary major, you will have to take 4 interdisciplinary electives. In the past, we've required that students choose an emphasis group, but cognitive science students in this meeting are part of the first cohort that doesn't need to choose an emphasis group. So just any 4 courses from the pre-approved list will count, as long as one of those is an upper division course. And if one of them isn't an upper division course, you'll have to substitute that with an upper division cognitive elective. Also, since 3 of those classes can be lower division courses, they're great requirements to take alongside your major declaration courses, like within your first 2 years, though they don't need to be completed by the end of your first 2 years. You could take them until you graduate, basically. Um, and I think that's everything for cognitive science, so you can go to the next slide. Thank you. So, as I've mentioned, there's a senior seminar requirement for both cognitive science and psychology. And to go into a bit more detail, this requirement is also tied to your GE requirements, specifically the DC disciplinary communication requirement. So if you see that this GE has not been completed, you'll have to complete it in your senior year. So don't worry about that. And it's important to note that registration for senior seminars is different from registration for all of our other courses. In order to enroll, you must complete the senior seminar permission code survey by the given deadline. We send this out to students who are declared in either cognitive science or psychology and who are at senior standing, which is having completed 135 units. In this survey, you'll be able to list your preferences for the senior seminars offered in the next quarter, and we will respond with a permission code so that you can enroll in one of those classes. So as incoming Frosh, you likely won't get this survey until a few years from now, but please keep in mind that the senior seminar is not an additional course requirement to complete the majors. Um, it can overlap with one of the courses that is already required within the lists that we mentioned. And with that, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. Okay, so also, as I mentioned, we have a few educational opportunities within the department. These include participating in our field study program, research, or senior thesis. So to go a bit more in depth, the field study program is a program students can apply to get connected with different internship opportunities and provide more hands-on experience in areas related to psychology, such as being a mental health worker, teacher's aide, advocate for survivors of abuse, working at a hotline, working at an elementary school, and more. And then there's also the Psych 194 research option, which entails getting connected with a research lab and working with a team on research that we're conducting within the psych department. And lastly, the senior thesis takes research a bit further, as you can kind of create your own research project alongside a faculty member who you would receive guidance from. Some people get confused and think that a senior thesis is required. It's not. So if that's not what you want to do, don't worry, you don't have to do one. And any psychology or cognitive science student can participate in these, but the intensive psychology students are required to participate in 2/4 of one of these options. More information about these educational opportunities is posted on our website, so you can look there or connect with a staff or peer advisor to learn more about getting more involved. And with that, I will pass it over to Ryan to talk about enrollment and academic planning.
Thank you so much. Okay, everyone, like, take a pause. Take a deep breath. We just threw a lot of information at you. We don't expect you to digest all of it right now. Remember, these slides are going to be available after this presentation. We'll share them with you. They'll be available on our website. And they do include a lot of links to the valuable information. If you have questions about any of it, want to go back through it, please do so. And that includes the next slide um, with enrollment resources that I'm going to talk about. So, now, your Select Success Orientation course and your college orientation should have talked about enrollment, but here are some resources for you anyway. You can review these and make sure you're prepared to enroll in courses in the next coming week or so, several weeks or so. We also have additional enrollment resources specific to our department. We have frequently asked questions page with additional resources on finding interdisciplinary electives, for example, this coming quarter, outside courses for psychology majors, um, course menus, things like that if you're looking for like something special that isn't related to the major specifically, but maybe a particular career. You can find this on our enrollment assistance page. We also post our tentative psychology course lists for each academic year, which should give you an idea of what you can plan for, hopefully at least through the next year or so. Um, uh, those do tend to change quite regularly and are definitely tentative, but it's a resource that we provide. We can go to the next slide though. Let's see. So this is my UCSC. Hopefully some of you have seen this page before. You've logged into your portal and to your student center. This is what it looks like. It's really important to make sure that you check if you have any tasks at this point or anything on your to-do lists. Um, there's a lot of things on there from like making sure your vaccination records are submitted to completing the orientations. You want to make sure all those things are checked off and if that you're not forgetting anything. Okay. Um, some of those things might prevent you from being able to enroll on time. And actually, one very important thing, which I'll add, if you haven't completed the orientations 1 and 2, you won't even be assigned an enrollment appointment. So make sure you do those, and that is checked off of your list. If you have any questions about enrollment, please reach out to your college advisors as well as us. Your college advisors, especially this first quarter, which, by the way, you could find them down in the advisor section. So you see where it says psychology and Cal College. You'll have psychology and some other college there. You can Google the college, reach out to them. They can help you figure out like what kind of GEs you want to take and things like that. And they'll probably be really helpful the next couple of years. And I already mentioned, you got to make sure to do the select orientation. Also, make sure that your official test scores are submitted. And if you have any transcripts from community colleges or anything like that, make sure that those things are submitted so admissions has a chance to actually review them and put them in your profile. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so at some point, you're going to receive academic plans, official ones from us. Usually not until your junior year when you're like declaring, the end of your sophomore year, rather, when you're declaring. You're more than welcome to have one built for you now if you want to make an appointment and work on that. But for the time being, most of you, I would recommend visiting our website or coming back to these slides and reviewing some of the sample plans and worksheets that are available to you. They'll give you an idea of what kind of classes you need to think about for the next several years, what kind of courses are required for declaring in the next couple of years, and of course, what was going to ultimately be required before you can graduate. We work with these official. We'll create an official plan for you that will be catered specifically to your needs. And it's shared with all other advisors on campus. So if you're double majoring, or having have a minor in something, the advisors in that other department can work on the same plan, so we're all on the same page. And we try to update it as regularly as possible. However, feel free to always reach out to us and make sure that those plans are updated for you um, if and when you get them. Okay. We can go ahead and go to the next slide though. All right, so here's an example of one of those plans. This is specifically a general psychology academic plan. And you can see there's a calendar view. You can see that there's a side area that shows like what courses you've completed. In the cases of the three at the top, it says Psych 1, Stats, and Pre-Calc. Those are the things that are required for declaration. So we'll sort of mark whether what kind of grades you've gotten them and have a good view of like whether you're qualified to declare or not. And then beyond that, we'll sort of just start stacking the courses you complete as you go. In the calendar view, you get an idea of the first couple of years. Again, I'll reemphasize what Paige has already said a few times. You do not have to worry about any psych classes this quarter. We don't want you to have to worry about it. And you have a full 2 years to complete the three courses that you have to
I have a
ultimately
question.
complete before um, it is time for you to declare. We do want you to make sure that that is still on your mind and you don't wait till the last second, but just remember you still have some time. Okay. It is the last few years, a couple of years here that you're going to really be stressed about your schedule, I think, because that'll be when you're doing your upper division coursework and preparing to ultimately complete the degree and graduate. Um, we'll create an academic plan for you that looks like this eventually. It'll be a signed academic plan. It'll be locked. You won't be able to do anything with it aside from, make comments and have us make changes on your behalf. But we like to keep a record of what we've advised for you. And so you'll have that, but you're more than welcome to make a copy of the plan or make your own sample plan, work with peer advising to strategize on your own. Um, but just know there's always going to be a regular, a primary plan on file for you that we create and work on your behalf. You'll see in this particular plan, again, I mentioned the first couple of years, you have your declaration requirements. Anything on our plan that says MQ next to it is specific to making sure you're completing declaration requirements. Note that Psych 10 and Psych 20, at least in this general psychology plan, do not have an MQ on them. They are not required to declare. They're just acquired eventually. Um, and let's see what else is worth noting. Um, yeah, again, just know that you have plenty of time to complete those three courses. This next couple of years, worry about your GEs and things like that. Pre-calculus, again, is a specific requirement, so make sure you take that Alex exam. If you don't test out of it outright, make sure that you know where you stand and if you need to take Math 2 before you can take Math 3 and that kind of thing. That way you can plan accordingly. Um, and then the only other thing I guess I would add is that it's not on here necessarily, except we do have a little drop-down box where we double check to see if you've completed it or not. And that is Right to is going to be required, ideally within the first couple of years, to qualify for enrollment in Psych 100, which will get you started on your upper division coursework. So keep that in mind. Some of you might have AP scores or other test scores that test you out of Right 1. But if not, make sure you've taken Right 1 or your college core course so you can then ultimately take Right 2 and complete that before your junior year. That's specific to general psych. Let's go ahead and take a look at a cognitive science plan for your cognitive science majors. Okay, so in this plan, once again, these are all available on our website through this slideshow. You can make a copy, do whatever you want with it, get yourself an idea of what's going to be required of you, specifically for cognitive science. And I'll say this one more time. I know it's already been said like three times now, but you'll have a slightly different set of requirements to complete in the next couple of years. Again, you still don't need to stress about enrolling in anything special to your major this quarter or this fall rather. But do prioritize these four courses over the next few years. Prioritize taking your exam, see where you stand in terms of calculus. If you need to take Math 2 and then Math 3 and then a calculus course, you want to make sure that's in your schedule accordingly. Um, Something else, actually, I should have mentioned in the general psych plan is there's a couple options for completing the statistics requirement. You could take Stats 5 just right now if you want to. There's no prerequisites for it, but if you want to take our Psych 2 course, remember that pre-calculus and Psych 1 or Psych 20 specifically are required as prerequisites to take Psych 2. So you want to make sure that those are a priority, perhaps your first year, before you plan to take stats next year. The other thing that's specific to this plan is a GPA calculator for the four courses that are required to declare. Between these four courses, we do require a GPA of 2.8 or higher. So that's typically like a BB minus average. So you want to be mindful of your grades. If you go below 2.8, you are not going to be eligible to declare, and you're going to need to retake something to either qualify for an appeal or to ultimately, meet the 2.8 GPA requirement. Let's see what else. Um, Mm, yeah, again, there's no specific requirements for this first quarter. Just make sure you do your math placement so you know where you stand there. I'd advise like do that sooner than later. No, if you need to take math two, and if that's something that has to happen as a cog sci major, I would make that a priority this fall. But beyond that, I wouldn't stress about taking anything related to your major. And we can go ahead and move forward. So, summer session, there we go. Okay. Um, as you start to think about your plans, so note on the previous slides, the plans really just highlighted the three quarters, the three primary quarters, fall, winter, and spring. Summer is an option also, but not everybody can stick around for the summer. That being said, if you are able to stick around for the summer, if you're able to take a few online classes that we do offer, um, summer session is a really great resource for helping you get ahead or keep up, depending on how things are going. Encourage you to visit the summer session website to take a look at what classes are being offered this summer, so you get an idea of what's probably going to be offered next summer. All of our primary lower division courses are offered. Psych 100 is always offered, and a large handful of upper division course options to help you keep up or get ahead of the game. Okay. Summer session, I would argue if you have any interest in a 3-year plan, graduating early, summer session is going to ultimately be required to keep up. Okay. So keep that in the back of your mind. A calendar for next summer will be available somewhere in mid-December. So check your email for that. Okay. And we can go ahead and go to the next slide and start talking about the DPR. Okay, so the degree progress report, DPR is, in addition to your academic plan, is a way to sort of keep track of where you are. Um, it's more directly connected to your grades as they're published. So it's a little bit more timely and up to date in that sense. However, it's not necessarily as accurate, especially if you're double majoring. Things might be shifted around in the wrong places. You want to work with us on that. In any case, it is a valuable resource to you to double check A, where you stand, B, what you have left. Okay. Um, to find your degree progress report, now on the student portal, there's a sidebar on the left, and one of them says degree progress report. You could click on that, or there's also this drop down that says other academic information. And if you scroll far enough down, you'll find an option for degree progress report there. Select it, hit go, and it'll take you to it. And to get the idea of what that looks like, we can go to the next slide. Here we go. So this is what a degree progress report actually looks like. It'll show you all the requirements that you need for the major so that you're officially proposed or declared in. Once you receive actual grades posted or test scores completed on your profile, they'll populate within this automatically. And assuming you got the right grades and things like that, they'll also check themselves off. Anything with red X's is something you probably need. However, there's some situations in which a red X might still be there, like as a placeholder for an option. Don't freak out if you see like 6 different X's in the additional subfield area of your DPR. You only need 3 of those courses in total, and once you are enrolled in 3 of them, they'll start to close up. Um, things like AP credits will be posted here eventually. If you have transfer credits, they'll be posted on the DPR. If they articulate automatically, they will check off the requirements for your at least your lower division coursework automatically. However, if you're expecting it to and it doesn't, let us know and we can fix it. Um, and yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to us to make any corrections. It's not a perfect system. Keep that in mind, but it is the most potentially up-to-date version of where you stand academically. And we can go to the next slide and just get another idea of what things look like. So I mentioned if you can see a check if something's completed for sure. You'll see an X if something is potentially not completed, although not necessarily. and then you'll see this yellow diamond thing if something is in progress. And so this will help you keep track of like making sure you're enrolling in things that are applicable towards your major. Sometimes there's confusion about that. I would recommend always reaching out to us and asking first, but I don't know, you can always check your DPR also and see like, okay, well, Ling 100 counts, I guess, as my outside course in this particular instance. And I think we can go to the next slide and I can pass it back on to Paige, I guess.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Again, take a breath. You're all, it's a lot of information, and I do understand that, well, we have made advances in our UCSC like enrollment technology. It still is a little archaic in some capacities. So Sammy and I here agree that it can be very confusing. I remember being very confused when I was a first year student. So if it's still not clear to you while we're talking, that's totally normal. And as Ryan mentioned before, this is not the last time you're going to see this information. We'll be sending out this recording. You'll have access to these slides and you can meet with us anytime. And we're happy to repeat this as many times as you all need. We understand it is very confusing. But we're going to jump into some general campus resources that I'm really excited to share with you all because there's just a lot of great people doing a lot of great work on our campus. Cool. So I'm going to kick off the first one, and Becca and I are going to tag team a little bit here. So one of my favorite spots on campus is McHenry Library. Obviously, this is an amazing study space, not to mention the fact that this is a four-story library in the middle of the forest. So when you're studying, all you see is trees around you. So it doesn't get much better than that. What I would do is I would spend like 5 or 6 hours there. They have a cafe during finals. I would write my papers. I would stay there all day, and then I'd go home. And kind of the unspoken rule in that library is the higher you go, the quieter it gets. So the first floor is the noisiest with the cafe. You can still definitely study there. We have computers that you can use there. If your laptop breaks or something like that, or you need something specific, you can check out books at the library for research projects. All of our research archives you can utilize. Technology rentals if something goes wrong with your laptop and you're panicking. We have study rooms you can rent for group projects or club meetings and things of that nature. And of course, just the amazing views. And on this, we've linked the library hours, and they do extend during midterms and final season.
So another great resource is LSS, or Learning Support Services. I saw somebody asked about tutoring in the chat. This is a great option for tutoring support. They also offer yeah, one-on-one tutoring and small group tutoring. So really up to you which resource you take advantage of. And there's also a writing center where trained students can help revise your papers and provide feedback. And in general, the service just provides really, really helpful study tips as well. So this is a great one to take advantage of.
Yes, the more we can destigmatize utilizing tutoring in college, the better. When I took Stat 5, my statistics course, I used MSI, which is Modified Supplemental Instruction. That's just a really fancy way of saying slugs that have taken the course previously are now tutoring it. So that's also a job opportunity for you all if you are interested in the future. Next, one that's pretty near and dear to my heart, the Disability Resource Center, or DRC. You'll notice we love our acronyms here at UCSC. You'll start to learn them as you accumulate time here at UCSC. But the DRC, some of you may be familiar with it already, depending on your circumstances. But the main aim of this, of the DRC is to provide educational access. So that is a wide range of circumstances. So that can be educational disabilities, mental health disorders, physical health disabilities, and kind of everything in between. So myself, I had accommodations for a mental health disorder. I'm very open about that. So if that's something that speaks to you, feel free to contact the DRC and see if there's anything that fits with you in terms of accommodations. For example, I had accommodations for alternative testing spaces and extra testing time for obsessive compulsive disorder. So for my statistics class, I took my exams in an alternative setting because that very large lecture hall was very overwhelming for me and triggered my anxiety. So that was a circumstance where that was very beneficial, and I was very glad I had that in place. Speaking from personal experience with the DRC, if you think you may qualify for some of these accommodations also include having a note taker that's there to take notes for you, alternative technology. our disability van service. If you think any of these may apply to you, please reach out now and get those set up. You do need, if it's a doctor that needs to send something over, all these things can take time. And if you can get that set up before you start in the fall, the better. And I was so grateful I had that in place before I started when I was a freshman in the fall. So if you think that may apply to you, go ahead and reach out to them now. And there's a lot of great folks working over there that can help you out.
Next, we have the Educational Opportunity Program, or EOP. So if you are an EOP student, you have access to EOP services, which provide students with resources they need to achieve personal and academic goals while in college. They provide mentoring. I know it's a really, really great community, and students in EOP get to help each other out. And there's also great faculty that provide workshops and offer resources and such. If you'd like to see if you're eligible for EOP, please visit their eligibility page on their website, which is linked here on the presentation.
Awesome. And I'm going to take the next couple here. So basic needs, something we really like to emphasize, especially as an advising team, is if you are struggling with basic needs, doing well in school is a struggle. So my philosophy and my colleagues' philosophy is always y'all are human beings before students. So we could be sitting here talking about Psych 1, but if you're thinking about where your next meal might be coming from, that's another story. And this is where basic needs comes into play. So this is an amazing resource on campus. We have food pantries on campus where you can just go and get free food. Doesn't matter what your circumstances are. We have health and wellness experts on our campus. We have financial security resources as well. There's so many things that I had to learn now that I'm an adult into adulthood about finances, things of that nature. So there's a lot of those things. If you have a financial crisis, if something's going on with your housing where you feel unsafe, if something like that were to happen, which obviously I hope doesn't, we have resources in place to assist you with that over at Basic Needs. And then CAPS, Counseling and Psychological Services, another one that's very important to me. This is our mental health resource center on our campus. So CAPS provides therapy resources for our students. So you can schedule appointments with licensed psychologists. We also have licensed psychiatrists. Something to keep in mind though is this isn't necessarily a long-term resource for long-term therapy and meetings, but it is an amazing resource to have an intake appointment and understand what your options are in the greater Santa Cruz community if you need further assistance. We also have CAPS peer mentors, which is something that I got a chance to do where you can talk to students and learn a little bit more about what CAPS does. Like there's fourth year students that have no idea what CAPS is by the time they graduate, and that's really unfortunate because it's something I utilize and something that many of our students utilize, and it's something we encourage as well. And this is a confidential resource as well. And I'm going to continue on here into kind of the last chunk of our presentation. Thank you all for hanging in there with us and for all your great questions. Awesome. Oh yeah, there we are again. Okay, so you probably recognize the people on the left there. So this is kind of a breakdown of our advising options. So on the left here, this is where you can schedule one-on-one appointments with us. You can see there's an alpha split going on there, and what that means is just we have your last names kind of broken up. But you can schedule an appointment with any of us. If you're able to schedule with someone in your alpha split, awesome. But if you can't, there's not a concern about that. We just do that to help break it up a little bit. But if you meet with one advisor and you appreciate consistency, like if you meet with Julia one time, you just want to keep meeting with Julia, you could certainly do that. But you can schedule with any of us. And you can see we have direct appointment links at the bottom here. So that would take you directly to something called Select Success, which some of you have successfully done already. I know I've met with some of you already, so it was great to see you all be able to navigate that resource. And then we have our drop-in advising resources. So that's something that's actively going on over the summer right now on Mondays and Wednesdays from 9 to 11 and 2 to 4. And then come fall, these drop-ins will be taken over by our peer advisors, which are current students, and those will happen on a daily basis, so much more frequently. But over the summer, you have a couple different resources, as well as you can email SciADV anytime over the summer. SciPeer is something that you would only use in the fall when our peer advisors are working, but SciADV is your best friend. When you email that, all of us get it. So we kindly ask that you don't email our personal emails, even though they're public, because you were going to be able to answer your question faster if you email SciADV, because we'll all see it. And there's Sammy the Slug live in the wild there in the middle. Just appreciate all his glory. All right. Okay, so location. So this is a great picture I snapped on the way back to the office while I was getting coffee. But this is literally where our office is. So pretty beautiful, literally in the middle of a bunch of redwoods. So we're at Social Sciences 2, room 150. And if you're like, where the heck is that? That's understandable. This is up at John R. Lewis College and College 9 and John R. Lewis College. So if any of y'all are affiliates there, then you're right near our office. I will say though, don't worry about if you're not affiliated with those two colleges, your classes and will be all over campus. So that doesn't really matter. But geographically, that's where we are. We're right above those two colleges. Right now, we're working fully remote over the summer, but we have ample advising opportunities there for you to answer any and all questions. When we come back in the fall, though, we'll have in-person and advising options, and we'll be in our office at room 150. And we want you all to stop by, familiarize yourself with the space, meet our peer advisors, meet us in person. And then our physical office during that time when we're back is open Mondays through Thursdays, 9 to 12 and 1 to 4. So we're closed on Fridays physically, but we're available for virtual help. All right. So here's a couple of snapshots of some cool wildlife on campus. This is a regular thing you see on campus. Not the hawk, that was pretty cool. I was proud of that one. But animals are always walking around. So a couple tips just to keep in mind. Please read your email, please read your email, please read your email. And please use your email. I can't emphasize that enough. You all have probably noticed that's really the only way we communicate with you. We have an Instagram, please follow us. We've revamped it, and we do post things there, but realistically, our email is essential, especially in our department, because some of our enrollment is a little bit different as you progress. Doesn't really apply to you all right now, but you need to be checking your email daily as a student. That needs to become a practice. And it should become a practice over the summer too. So if that's kind of unfamiliar to you, just start practicing it now. We're not going to be emailing your personal Gmails. If you email us from your personal Gmail, we're just going to tell you please email us from your UCSC email. That's for security reasons. So nothing, no information is exposed or anything like that. We just want to make sure everyone's safe. We have quarterly newsletters that my colleague Ryan usually takes the lead on creating, and then we all contribute to that. So we send those out quarterly just to see what's on kind of the horizon for the next quarter. Meet with us. That's why we're here. Schedule appointments with us. You also have office hours with your professors and your teaching assistants or TAs. This is a very underutilized resource. These people are literally required to sit in a designated location for like a couple hours a week to answer student questions, and people never show up. And I remember one of my professors said they were always super lonely in office hours. So if you're confused about a paper or an exam, or you're like, what does this mean? They're going to know the answer. They're the ones that assigned it to you. That's also a great networking opportunity if you're interested in that, if that professor's research, how they got to where they are. That's a great place to have those conversations and really kind of delve into having those conversations and learning how to communicate with faculty, because it may seem very scary. I remember being very scared when I introduced myself on the first day. That's something I also recommend doing. It may seem so weird, but on your first day of class, even if there's 300 people in the class, after class, just go say, "Hi, nice to meet you, Professor So-and-so. My name is Paige Anderson. I just wanted to say I'm glad to be in your class and it's nice to meet you." And that can go a long way. Go to class, please, unless you're sick or there's some sort of emergency. But that's why you're in college. So please go to class. And follow us on social media. We post a lot of fun stuff there. Upcoming events. We'll have our first in-person event when you all move in the fall. This is called Welcome Week. So during that time, you all will be moving in, and we'll have another presentation that will be in person at Earth and Marine Sciences, room B206. Again, if you have no idea where that is, your RAs can certainly help you. Your residential assistants can help you find where that is on campus. But we have a whole lecture hall reserved, and we'll have a great presentation prepared for you all. And then to the right, this is our unofficial mascot, Leia. So she assists in our office sometimes. She's kind of our unofficial mascot. So if you stop by, you may be able to meet her. Follow us on Instagram again. There we are again. There's a lot of pictures of us, I've realized. But please do that. We post a lot of fun things, including This is just a snapshot. This is a Instagram series we've done for a couple of years now. And this is something we post weekly every quarter. So this is called Wellness Wednesday. So every week on Wednesday, we post a wellness tip. So all of the staff advisors do it as well as our peer advisors. So this is just an example. This is me volunteering at the Seymour Marine Discovery Center over at our Coastal Sciences campus. So if you all haven't been there or haven't even been to campus yet, I recommend checking that out during Welcome Week or over the summer if you're coming to visit. Just a beautiful place overlooking West Cliff. And this was just me talking about how volunteering is a mental health practice for me. So we have a lot of different things people have done from reading to taking walks to photography to exercise to collaging. So that's something we do every week to stay engaged with you all. And then this is something that I wanted to share with you all as well. Lola recently graduated. She was one of our peer advisors. And in here, and we'll send this all to you as well, but she put together a list of really cool just tips for our incoming Frosh, whether that's combating homesickness, like what it's like to navigate a dining hall, things like that, things that can seem overwhelming sometimes. So I recommend checking those out.